So, in the past 20 years, at the highest level of sports performance on the entire planet, there has not been a destruction of the women's division of sports for the past 20 years. So, do you feel like there's literally any evidence to support the view that you have? Or do you think that what you have is a fear? I'm Lexander, and I'm not yet tired of talking about trans people in sports, even though I know a lot of other people are. So, this was a conversation that we had on the Transatlantic Call-In Show. I was on with Dr. Ben. That is on the YouTube channel The Line, which I will link to the full episode down below. And if you ever want to watch us live, that's Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time. But this guy wanted to talk about abolishing women's sports or something. I don't know. Sports.
Let's talk with Tim, he, him from New York. It sounds like you are opposed to abolishing gendered sports leagues. Tell us more about your position on this.
Hi. So I won't even take any strong stance of whether I'm abolishing it or not. I just think that if you remove male and let's say male and female leagues and make them sex inclusive, then there's just no way that females are going to be able to compete, especially on the highest level with men, with males.
Do you mean,
Tim,
what
sport are you
Sorry,
talking
go
about,
ahead,
Tim?
Ben.
Yeah, what sport?
American football, boxing, MMA, soccer, baseball.
So I want to just point out really quick that if we abolish male and female leagues, then yes, of course, that destroys the girls' division. That's the point of removing male and female leagues, if that were the thing that you were going to do. But I think what you're asserting is if we open up the ability for trans people to compete against their own gender, then that would reduce the competitive ability for cisgender girls to succeed in the existing sex divided girls division. Is that more accurate to what you're trying to say, Tim?
If you do so and you include people who went through male puberty.
So I would love to talk to you about the Olympics, because at the Olympic level, it has been open for more than 20 years now, where transgender women, regardless of whether they've undergone testosterone puberty, if they have a blood level of testosterone below a certain amount for a certain amount of time, it's like 2 years, I think, then they are allowed to participate in the women's league. So in the past 20 years, at the highest level of sports performance on the entire planet, there has not been a destruction of the women's division of sports for the past 20 years. So do you feel like there's literally any evidence to support the view that you have? Or do you think that what you have is a fear based on what you know about the difference between men's performance and women's performance, and that you are unfairly lumping in trans women with men and assuming that they have the same level of sports performance when in fact they are disadvantaged compared to both cis men and cis women?
Do you think that that would be the case if the transgender population, grew to the size of everyone who wanted to get hormone therapy? Do you think that would still,
so Tim, that population
so I did ask you a question, though. I did ask you a question,
and also,
okay, I'm sorry.
And also, that population is still very, very small. Like 1 to 2 Tim is 1 to 2% of the population, right? And so that's on a curve, right? So there's a bell curve of society and stuff. There's always going to be more people put into the world, and there will be people leaving the world. So this curve is going to be pretty consistent, and trans people are probably going to be pretty consistent around that 1 to 2%. So I think your fear that trans people are going to overtake the population is very unfounded. Just if you look at statistics, so just don't even rely on that argument.
Well, see, I don't know the specifics of here, but it does say there was a UN commission that says 900 medals have been won by transgender athletes. I don't know at what level those leagues were at, but that's obviously a substantial number if the UN is reporting.
Tim, there are also trans people that don't undergo hormone therapy and stay in their own sex division. So that's going to count those people too.
So at the highest levels of performance across the planet, the Olympics, transgender women have been allowed to participate for 20 years. And we have not seen a
Okay.
destruction of the girls' league. We have not seen a huge number of transgender women infiltrating the sport, nor have we seen any amount of cis men, for the sake of performance, going on estrogen and participating against females so that they can win. So what, like, does that not say to you, oh, maybe this is not a real problem?
Well, did you have the same levels of transgenderism 20 years ago? And what, we're talking about, 1 or 2% versus the entire female population.
That's not an answer to my question.
Well, recently, for instance, a British person, a British trans athlete, won the world's strongest woman.
I have seen accusations and that an investigation is underway. I have not seen any evidence. And also, that particular competition, if I understand correctly, doesn't even test for steroids. So who fucking cares who won or who did what in that particular league? I'm telling you that at the Olympic level, at the highest level for 20 years, and the number of trans athletes hasn't changed substantially in that time. We are currently seeing, like, okay, there might be a slight increase because we have not been as violently repressing it. But, that violent repression has kicked back up into high gear. So I think the numbers are probably going to remain fairly depressed for a period of time. But so for 20 years, this has been permitted and it has not resulted in the destruction of women's sports. Therefore, what possible reason could you have to believe that this is going to result in the destruction of women's sports? Do you have a reason, or do you just feel like maybe you're scared that it might happen? And also, do you even watch women's sports?
Well,
you a fan of the WNBA?
Listen, I told you, I don't even necessarily have a strong opinion, but I do feel that it will destroy it. I do watch some women's sports. I watch women's MMA.
I don't care about your feelings. The facts simply do not care about how you feel. And I'm sorry that you feel that way. It's really sad.
Well, what do you define as destruction?
What do you find? You're the one who came in here asserting that it was going to destroy. What do you mean?
Well, for instance, it says recently at RIT, Rochester Institute of Technology, a transgender athlete broke the state records for New York College. I mean, and this is with, a tiny fraction of the population being transgender. So, I mean, is that they're destroying all the records of all the women who came before in the state of New York?
I just want to understand what you're saying. I just want to understand what you're saying, Tim. Help me understand what you're saying. So you're saying one person having excellent performance is the destruction of girls' sports?
Well, every woman who ever ran in New York State, every female who ever ran in New York State before this person set everything they worked for, they can never have the record because this transgender runner broke their record. They can never have the record.
It's so repulsive that you think that transgender people can't win.
No, it's something else.
I think they can win.
Katie Ledecky is a cis woman, has been beating her own records in the Olympics for as long as I can remember.
Year.
Is Katie Ledecky ruining women's swimming because nobody else has a chance anymore because she keeps winning? Should we kick Katie Ledecky out of women's Olympics? Yeah, should we kick out Michael Phelps because he's too good at swimming?
She has the same.
She has a biological advantage. She has a biological advantage.
I see what you're saying. But however, she starts at the same.
I have a question.
You're defining the trait as a
great example. I have a great example that's going to be perfect. So, Tim, are you familiar with polycystic ovarian syndrome?
It gives them an advantage because it suppresses their estrogen or raises their testosterone, something like that.
Okay, girl, you don't know what it is. So let me just explain it to you.
Okay.
PCOS is an endocrine disorder that cis women have, females, people who are born with a vagina.
Yeah.
And it means that they have a higher level of testosterone in their body during puberty and through their life. So do you think that it confers an unfair biological advantage for girls with PCOS to compete against girls who don't have PCOS?
Possibly, and think that that's a
Do you think
complex
there should be a
issue, maybe
separate
up
league?
to commission to
There should
decide
be
that.
genetic testing to ensure that every female who participates in sports doesn't have PCOS.
I haven't contemplated over that.
Okay. Well, so what you're suggesting is
Possibly.
basically that's basically like the only way to possibly guarantee perfect fairness in sports would be to do a bunch of invasive testing, and also you would end up splitting things up into smaller and smaller leagues in such a way that it's like we might as well just get rid of the gendered component and just have it be based on like height and sex and other performance measures.
Okay.
Because like when you are saying like, trans women have an unfair advantage because of testosterone, like okay, well so do girls with
I didn't
PCOS.
say
So
that.
if we are going to say that trans women could destabilize all of women's sports because of a biological advantage, like that necessarily means we need to start doing genetic testing to make sure that nobody who's intersex is getting in, even though lots of intersex conditions are not noticeable unless you start doing genetic testing. Like you've opened a can of worms, Tim, that I don't think you understand.
Yeah.
I didn't say that it was necessarily testosterone. I know that you can suppress a male's testosterone and to be at levels lower, but then lower than the average female, but then they're still going to have other advantages. And just because you can point at certain exceptions where, oh, well, they have an advantage, but that doesn't mean that you need to put in this whole other category that's going to be a massive.
So Tim,
and a bigger number.
Why does one?
Too.
So why is one exception acceptable to play in sports and one isn't? Like Katie Ledecky has biological advantages. Why is she allowed to be superior in her sport and still compete when other people
celebrated.
aren't? Yeah. Why is one exception okay and other exceptions are not?
Well, let's say you just wanted to have the deciding factor be whether someone's female or not. Then where's the arbitrariness there?
Define female.
To have two X chromosomes.
So if we start
and no Y
somebody who has Klinefelter, so somebody with Klinefelter syndrome
and no Y chromosomes
We used to do this, Tim, though. We used to do this genetic testing, and we basically ruined a lot of cis people's sports careers with this genetic testing. There was I can't remember her name, but there was a woman in the 60s who she was disqualified from sports because of a chromosome test, and then she fucking gave birth a year later. So what you're basically suggesting or creating the grounds
she had a
for
Y chromosome
is, I don't know. But also, that isn't a clear indicator of sports performance. That is like an arbitrary thing that you're picking and pointing to. Someone could have XXY chromosomes. Somebody could have XY chromosomes and be completely immune to testosterone. Like their body doesn't do anything with testosterone. We've seen XY females give birth to XY females naturally, unassisted. So the issue that we're running into and why I get so heated about this is that you're trying to take an issue that's incredibly complex and distill it down to like one or two factors. But even over the course of this conversation, Tim, the factors that you care about or that you profess to care about have changed. You've been like, well, if they have an advantage from when they were in puberty or whatever, like they have a genetic advantage on this, or if they have a chromosome, but the chromosome doesn't confer any advantage. And you've said like, well, whatever, you can't count these exceptions like PCOS or Michael Phelps and his freakish muscles or whatever. And like, you're like, we can't use those exceptions to rewrite the rules, but we're going to like disregard, or rather it's okay for them to participate, but it's not okay for trans people to participate because they might have a different kind of biological advantage. Like, so we're just treating these things differently in a way that feels like really insensitive and basically the core of what you get back down to. And what your stated goal is like, we shouldn't have trans people in these sports because it could destroy women's sports. So what you want is a category-wide saying you're not allowed to participate. No trans person. Or are you going to allow the trans girl who started hormones when she was 12? Like, why? And why are you going to allow the girl with PCOS?
If they could prove that made them analogous in physical ability, but
they have
you're going to run into problems.
Tim, there are studies. There are studies. There are studies that are
I understand on the polycystic.
That the differences between like trans people who've undergone hormone therapy, we have those studies that they are not the same as a cis man, and that their physiology very closely matches a cis woman. So, and that it does not significantly enhance their sports performance. We have these studies. So it sounds like you're not doing your homework, Tim, and you're just coming in here with claims that you can't actually back up.
The International Olympic Committee, the IOC, commissioned a study within the last couple of years that looked at the performance of 4 different groups. It was a relatively small study, but it looked at the athletic performance difference between athletes who are either cis women, cis men, trans women, or trans men. And the results were trans women are at a disadvantage compared to cis women. So the reason why, Tim, for the past 20 years, the Olympics has been open to sports performance from trans women, the reason why they are not winning is because they are at a disadvantage.
Well, they're in significantly smaller numbers.
That doesn't
That's not why.
anything.
That's not why they...
It's not relevant.
Right. Tim, people have to qualify for the Olympics, right? Like, you can't just walk into the Olympics and expect to compete. You have to qualify. If what you're saying is true,
lot more trans people
we would
in
be
the last
expecting
10 years, we won't see that at the Olympics for another 10 or 15 years.
So,
So I guess, are you saying, like, I'm afraid that this might happen later, even though it didn't happen the last 20 years?
Well, are the numbers still growing of people that are identifying as transgender?
It seems like it's leveling out or dropping right now. Interrupting real quick, just to remind you that this channel is supported by direct contributions, usually through Patreon or direct donations on my website. But I'm going to direct you to patreon.com/Luxander, where you can get little private things, little sneak peeks, little things here and there. And if you want something physical for your support, check out my merch link down below in the description to get a coffee mug or a super comfy hoodie or something.
Well, let me ask you, why do you think that it's more so a male to female transgender that wants to compete in the women's league than it is male to than it is female to male that wants to compete?
Okay, because
Tim, you haven't done any of your homework on this. You haven't done any of your homework on this and just walked in here.
We live in a media environment that gives a disproportionate amount of attention to trans women in sports. There are plenty of... I own a book in the other room from a man who is a boxer, a trans man who's a boxer.
Okay, I'm not doubting that exists.
So there is a concerted effort in our media landscape to demonize trans people, and this is the way that they do it, is by saying, well, any reasonable person could say that men shouldn't perform against women in sports. We have to protect the poor little women and uphold male supremacy. But like, this just isn't bearing out. This has nothing to do with trans people's sports performance. Like, also, we could be having a much more interesting discussion about what actually is the cause of difference in sports performance between males and females. It kind of seems like if we didn't treat women's sports like a freak sideshow, that their performance would actually be much more similar to one another. So like, this is like completely avoiding the misogyny conversation about why sports are segregated by sex in the first place, which isn't anything to do with women's lack of ability.
Yep.
You think so, even without any hormone treatment, that girls and boys sports would be more or less the same?
Yes.
Tim, I wanted to talk with you about this too. Like, the fact that you assume that women are inferior, and the fact is you came in just saying all sports, basically. Do you not understand that different sports have different things that make people good at them? Or do you think that all sports are the same?
Well, of course sports are different. Of course.
Right. So do you think that the biological advantages that one person might have in gymnastics are different than the biological advantages you'd have in soccer?
No. No.
You don't think that they're different advantages?
Oh, I think they're different. Yeah, absolutely.
You think they're different. So
yeah.
Even just with sex characteristics, the fact that you are assuming that all athletics are favoring masculine hormone levels and masculine development, when that is demonstrably untrue. Like, if you take into account flexibility, like aerodynamics in some sports, you're talking like endurance speed versus sprinting speed. Like, there are multiple factors that go into what gives somebody an advantage, and boiling all that down to man or woman is really disingenuous when thinking about that. Like, you have to break, like, if I wanted, like, if you were going to have an honest discussion about this, right? And I think each sports organization is having their own internal conversations, but you have to think about it at an individual sport level. Like the determination for what gives an unfair advantage in hockey is going to be different than gymnastics or cricket or bobsled or things. So instead of arguing, oh, like we should make these decisions about all sports, I'm not inclined to believe that you know anything about what you're talking about, because you can't even narrow down what sport you're talking about. You can't narrow down what the differences are between those and what is going to be giving people an advantage in those. Right. And so like, even go back to swimming. If you take Katie Ledecky, put her in the pool with any average man, and like that man's going to get his ass beat. Right. Like you can't look at it. And I think the reason why we look at sports this way is inherent. No. And you were even talking, you came in here talking about the highest level, right, Tim? We're talking about the highest level.
She's going to lose to Michael Phelps every single time.
Is Katie Ledecky the highest level or not? Do you think it's
of women swimmers? Yeah, but she's going to lose to any ranked man.
Tim, did you not come in here arguing that these are decisions that should be made at the highest level of sports? Like that at the highest level of sports, that's going to be unfair.
Sure. Sure, but Katie Ledecky is going to lose to any ranked mid-level
I do not believe
swimmer.
You. I do not believe you.
All right. So this is
I do not believe you.
Tim, I got to cut in here because Tim, this is the problem.
She's not going to win a medal.
Here, girl, give me a second. This is the problem, is that your perspective on sports is entrenched in a male supremacist ideology. Women are perfectly capable of competing against men at the highest levels. I'm not going to sit here and pull up Katie Ledecky's times and compare them against cis men. I can fucking guarantee that she's performing better than a college male swimmer, and that they're arbitrarily separated for no other reason than to preserve the image. They're separated for no other reason than to preserve the image of male supremacy. What do you mean? Are you seriously about to tell me that a fucking college-level male swimmer has times better than Katie Ledecky? This is what I mean. Your ideology, this has nothing to do with trans people. This has to do with your dog shit misogyny.
Well, do you think that Amanda Nunes can beat Alexander Volkanovski in a fight? Because I think there's no way. And she's the greatest female MMA fighter.
I need to ask a clarifying question. Was that boxing?
I do too. What were their weights? What were their weight categories?
Yes, because that's a fucking sports category where there's weight.
145 each.
Okay,
each 145.
Let me tell you. I want to tell you.
There's no chance.
I want to tell you how an 18-year. Hold on. I want to tell you how an 18-year-old girl won the boys division of wrestling in Arizona last year, or the year before, perhaps. So when you equalize things for weight and height, actually women can perform just fine. My position is that we should abolish sex differences, because clearly we're just preserving like a system that is patronizing toward women. Okay, then what I'm telling you, listen, because so I'm responding directly to that. I'm responding directly to that. When we equalize things for height and weight, women are fully able to perform, because a girl who was 18 years old won the boys wrestling in Arizona, state boys wrestling. So yes,
that's an exception.
When we equalize things,
ask Amanda Nunes if she could beat Alexander Volkanovski.
Did you just say?
Ask her.
You just said Katie Ledecky is an extreme example. You can't count her. Oh, that one girl winning in Arizona is an extreme example. You can't count her. But you're sitting here telling me one winner
beat the average man
in the UK. Tim, one winner in the UK who was trans is your justification for an anti-trans position? So you're saying that your exception, when you decide that it's relevant, matters, but our examples don't count and aren't relevant.
There's a good point to that, but she is beating every single woman in that country. That was the entirety of Britain. Now you have many state championships.
That 18-year-old girl won against every boy in the state wrestling championship in Arizona.
Yeah, but you have, how many state championships do you have? And it's at a very low weight class. There are some factors. Yes, sometimes, and that was a female to male transgender.
So now you're admitting that there's some other.
There are some exceptions. I agree. There are some times.
Tim, shut up. So you're admitting that when the outcome isn't in favor of your bullshit misogyny, then there are other factors besides sex that take into account. This literally just sounds like you want every excuse to invalidate women's accomplishments.
True.
So yeah, this is nothing about trans people. Like, you are clearly transphobic. You are also a misogynist, and I don't think you actually value women's sports like you're pretending to. Right? You are demonstrating. Yeah.
Well, you know what? I personally, you know what? If you want, I just think that it will destroy the girls' league. I don't. If you want to do that, you know what?
Tim, you've demonstrated.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm not saying I'm necessarily outraged about it. I'm just saying that's what it will logically come to.
You don't. You've demonstrated that you have no idea what you're talking about.
It's literally the opposite of everything that we've seen and everything that we know about sports performance.
Okay.
Like, literally,
why do you think
I have made a point to educate myself about this. I've made a point to learn. And then, like, the disparities in sports performance between males and females honestly comes down a lot to the quality of equipment and coaches and, like, the funding that they receive. So if we were to equalize the funding between boys and girls sports right now, in 30 years, we could maybe see at the competitive Olympic level, it start to equalize out between males and females. But also, did you also know this, Tim, that if you take, this is going to feel like it's completely unrelated, but I promise it's completely directly tied to it. So if you take a group of boys and a group of girls and you sit them down to do a math test, and you tell the girls, just, you know, while you're explaining the math test, you know, you're just saying, like, well, generally boys perform better on this test than girls. If you have two different groups of girls and you tell one group that and you don't tell the other group that, the group that you didn't say that to performs better. If you tell girls that they will perform worse than boys, then they perform worse. Interestingly, and less to the point, the same is true for the boys. If you say to the two different groups of boys generally perform better on this test than girls, the boys that you tell that to will do worse. So we have no idea what like psychological impairment we impose on the entire body of sports by segregating them in the first place and continuing to reify this whole, it's to make sure that you can still win, baby girl. Like, you would never be able to compete against the boys. Like, this just isn't the reason for why sports was segregated in the first place. Like any actual tangible performance differences. It's clearly an ideological thing, because one of the first sports that was segregated in the Olympics was like shooting a gun. Really? You think you need a separate women's league for shooting a gun? It's literally just to preserve the idea that males are superior physically and in all other ways, but definitely physically. We definitely need to reify that in our society. It's a challenge to men that women could beat them. And so, yeah, you've been brainwashed into this belief, and you are hurting trans women with this belief. But it's not even about trans people. It's about sexism and misogyny.
Okay.
Yep.
So, if you say so, I will admit this is from AI. So, I will admit this from AI, but it says, from what I can see, that the average male state champion swimmer has times similar to Caitlin Ledecky's college.
Why did you consult AI?
Victory.
Why did you consult? I love that we've provided actual data, and you've just brought your feelings and searched it with AI.
Okay. Well, do you think that that's not correct? And if I can verify that,
I don't know anything about what Google AI made up. I don't know what the AI hallucinated.
You need a better source, buddy. And the fact that you can't vet sources is kind of a problem for your argument as well, because like it says that you can't really evaluate information that you're being given. So.
Okay, well, I can't get the exact times, but if I were, it more or less seems to think that, you know, her best times are not even on par with the state champion male swimmers. I mean, and I'm not an expert on that, and I didn't give swimming as an example.
That's called looking for information to validate your bias.
But if every male, if the average male state champion,
I just said? Did you hear anything I just said about
I did. I heard what you just said.
It starts from childhood. It starts from childhood.
Okay, let me give an example.
How could you possibly compare them when one group is actively being disadvantaged right now?
if you think that will fix all the adjustments, I don't think anyone's stopping girls from swimming. But
what the fuck does that even mean?
That's not what we said.
Okay, what about Serena Williams? Serena Williams said that she could not even beat the top 500 male tennis players. She said that.
Okay.
She says there's no way I have a chance. She's she's the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Women's tennis
how
players.
True is that, and how much of that is her thinking? Like, just because I'm not convinced you listen to what Lux said about what you tell girls when they go into a competition, right? Like, how much of that statement, because that's a subjective statement, right? That's not objective data. That's her saying something. And also some other thing is maybe she's making a statement to, try to make some kind of media appearance to be nice to somebody or whoever. Like, there's a media thing in that. There's probably a lot of intention behind why she said what she said. But like, that's a subjective statement that doesn't tell me anything about whether or not she would be able to beat males or not. Like, it could just be that she's humble and.
She played an exhibition with a German tennis player. I've seen this before, and I think she won one game and lost every other game. And this was like a.
So she did.
I think they do, but
she demonstrated that she can win a game against them, and you're not gonna. It's not saying that women are gonna win every single time.
She lost the match, 6-1 and 2-6, and she's the greatest. He was ranked 203rd.
So
she was ranked number 1.
If a woman loses, that means that they're never gonna be able to win. Like, somebody has to lose that match, right? Mm-hmm. Like, or that set. Somebody has to lose.
She was ranked number 1, and he was ranked 203.
Sometimes she got
pretty much dominant.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Okay, it's just a bad day.
A lifetime of poor funding, of a lack of support for their sport, an entire lifetime of being told that they will never be as good as the boys. Unless we fix all those things, we cannot possibly compare the performance of males and females in a way that lets us safely assume that females will never be able to perform against males.
Aren't you downgrading her accomplishments?
All sports should be segregated based on height and weight and prior performance. Sex segregation doesn't make sense.
Based on height?
Yeah.
Girl, did you hear the full statement that I said, or were you just waiting to talk?
Based on height and weight?
I said height and weight and performance. Yeah.
Okay, they are segregated based on performance already.
No, they're not, dumbass. Oh my fucking God, I'm done. If you want to continue,
yes, they are.
I'm done.
You don't get into the NFL. You don't get into the NFL if you're not the higher.
Bye, Tim.
Yeah. I'm just going to start insulting him at this point, so we're just going to stop.
Yeah, no, I dropped him.
I'm sorry. I talked over you several times. I apologize, Ben. Someone pointed out to me recently that whenever I'm with a cis person, I play good cop, and whenever I'm with a trans person, I play bad cop. And I'm like, it's unavoidable. Now I'm noticing it all the time.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, like truer words never spoken.
Yeah. But yeah, that conversation, like, I feel like everyone that I'm making a generalization, but most people, overwhelmingly the ones that I've talked to that engage in this sports argument, like, the core of it is misogyny and not actually trans people.
Yep.
Like, that is the core
that's
of
what it
that
always
whole
comes
debate.
back to. Yep. I'm going to be real with you. I found this conversation very, very frustrating. So I hope you enjoyed listening to it. And don't forget that you can catch us live on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Central Time on Takis if you want to join us for any of these conversations, or if you have any issues with anything that I said in any of these videos. I will only take a small amount of time with you in the comments, but I will take a large amount of time with you if you call. So make sure you're keeping track of that schedule over there on the line, see when we're going to be live. And don't forget to like, subscribe, leave your comments down below. YouTube really especially loves it when you share the video. And thank you all so much for watching. See you next time. Happy New Year, and thank you so much to my patrons, especially Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvag, Untitled 1, Pinky Bimbo, In a Box, Sarah A., Amanda B., Michelle Winter, Athiette, Nova, Danielle McDonald, Kevin Young, Suzanne Maynard, Liam Hodgson, Jamie Jam, Michelle Frateroli, Logan, Celeste, Mr. Atheist, Wellington Marcus, Desi Quiche, Nadia Yvette Chambers, Ing Marie, Ali T, Kawhi Esquire, Bo E, Art, Neurospiky, JT, and Solomon Kane.